She convinced New York's elite she was a German heiress worth $60 million. Hotels gave her the penthouse. Banks handed her loans. Socialites fought over her friendship. There was just one tiny problem. None of it was true. Not the money, not the trust fund, not even the name. This is the story of the girl who faked her way to the top of Manhattan and almost got away with it. Let's rewind to 2013. A young woman steps off a plane into New York City. She's 22 years old. She speaks with a vague European accent, and she introduces herself as Anna Delvey. Delvey isn't her real name. Her real name is Anna Sorokin, and she grew up in a small town in Russia before her family moved to Germany. Her father drove trucks for a living. Not exactly heiress material, but Anna had a plan. And the plan didn't involve telling the truth. She told people her family was worth $60 million, tied up in a solar panel empire back in Europe. She said her trust fund was just temporarily inaccessible. Temporarily. That word is going to do a lot of heavy lifting in this story, because for the next 4 years, temporarily became Anna's favorite excuse. And somehow, nobody questioned it. Here's the thing about rich people in New York. They don't ask to see your bank statement. They just look at how you act. And Anna understood something most people never figure out. Confidence is a costume, and nobody checks the receipts. She dressed in designer clothes. She stayed in 5-star hotels. She tipped in cash like it was nothing. She name-dropped European banks. She talked about art, architecture, fashion, like she'd been swimming in money her whole life. And slowly, the doors started opening. She started hanging around New York's high society. Art world people, fashion people, tech founders. She threw herself into rooms where nobody checks IDs at the velvet rope, because if you're already inside, everyone assumes someone else already checked. Think of it like sneaking into a movie theater, except the movie theater is the entire upper class of Manhattan, and the ticket is just acting like you belong. But here's where it gets interesting. Anna wasn't just partying on borrowed vibes. She had a bigger goal. She wanted to build something real. She wanted to open her own members-only club, a massive art and social space called the Anna Delvey Foundation. Think Soho House, but bigger, glossier, and entirely built on a lie. She pitched it to real investors. She met with real bankers. She even got a real law firm to help her draft paperwork for a multi-million-dollar loan. This wasn't some small-time con anymore. This was Anna trying to build an actual empire on a foundation of nothing. And for a while, it worked. Banks started taking her seriously. One financial institution actually began processing a loan for over $20 million. $20 million, based on a trust fund that did not exist. How does that even happen? Simple. She showed them fake bank documents, forged wire transfer confirmations, and doctored financial statements that looked convincing enough to slide past busy professionals who wanted to believe her. It's like handing someone a photocopy of a diamond and having them insist it sparkles. But money doesn't just appear because paperwork looks nice. Somebody has to actually pay for hotel rooms, flights, dinners. So how did Anna survive without any real cash? She used a trick that con artists have used for centuries, just with a modern twist. She'd stay at luxury hotels and simply not pay. She'd promise the wire transfer was coming any day now. Hotels would let it slide for a while because, hey, she looked rich, she acted rich, and rich people are late with payments sometimes, right? By the time hotels realized the money was never coming, she'd already checked out and moved to the next one. She did the same thing with friends. This is the part of the story that stings the most. Anna had real friends. People who liked her, trusted her, wanted to help her, and she used that trust like a credit card. In one now infamous trip, she convinced a friend to book an insanely expensive vacation to Morocco, complete with a private villa, all under the promise that Anna's card wasn't working, and she'd pay her back the second they landed. The trip cost tens of thousands of dollars. Guess who paid for almost all of it? Not Anna. By 2017, the cracks were turning into canyons. Hotels were sending her to collections. Friends were quietly panicking about unpaid bills. And a magazine journalist started digging into her story, pulling threads that unraveled the whole disguise. Because here's the truth about fake heiresses. The lie only survives as long as nobody checks. And eventually, somebody always checks. The final unraveling happened almost by accident. Anna tried to check into a luxury hotel using a corporate card that quickly got declined. The hotel, fed up with unpaid bills piling up from her stay, called the police. And just like that, the woman who had convinced bankers, socialites, and five-star hotels that she was worth millions was arrested with barely enough money to cover a cab ride. The trial that followed was a media circus. Anna showed up to court every single day in a completely different, stunning outfit, styled by an actual stylist, because apparently, even facing years in prison, the performance had to continue. Cameras loved her. Headlines called her Instagram's favorite scammer and the fake heiress. She became a strange kind of celebrity, someone people almost admired for the sheer audacity of it all. In the end, she was convicted on multiple counts of theft and fraud, found guilty of stealing roughly $200,000 from banks, hotels, and acquaintances. Not the $60 million she claimed to have. Not even close. Just a fraction of what she pretended to be worth, built entirely out of confidence, forged paperwork, and other people's trust. She was sentenced to prison. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. Anna didn't disappear into obscurity once she got out. Netflix bought the rights to her story and turned it into a hit series. She became a producer on projects about her own life. She did paid interviews, sold artwork she made in prison, and somehow, the woman who scammed New York's elite turned her own crime into a full-blown media brand. She never got the $60 million she lied about having, but in a strange twist of fate, fame ended up paying her in ways fraud never could. And that's really the uncomfortable question at the center of this whole story. Anna Sorokin never actually built anything real. She never ran a real business, never had a real dollar of the fortune she claimed. All she had was the appearance of wealth, confidence dressed up as credibility. And yet that was enough to fool bankers, lawyers, hoteliers, and some of the most socially connected people in New York City. Maybe that's the scariest part of this whole story. It wasn't some genius hacking system or forging impossible documents that no one could catch. It was just belief. People believed she was rich because she acted like she was rich. And once enough people believe something, it starts to feel true, even when it never was.